Welcome to the Sharpest College Football Podcast. This is our Week 6 preview. Robert, to get right into it, the podcast, as we have said, has two purposes. Number one, to pass along information about college football to everyone else while having a good time talking about the sport. And number two, to make us look smart. And you know what makes me look really smart and you is from the very first preseason podcast saying, hey, guess what? Wait till week 5. Wait till week 5. Wait till week 5, and then week 2, week 1, week 3, and week 4, we say wait till week 5, wait till week 5. And what happens in week 5? Our dual model plays go 8-2. My model over and under plays go 6-3. You can see there the life-to-date ROI on each. A little bit of detail on those. Here are our dual model plays. I'm actually counting that Duke game as a loss, even though they won and they were actually a 1-point dog at close. And in part one, we parsed just what a tough beat that Rutgers over Washington game was. And for my total plays, 6-3, you can see here the one that wasn't close was Florida State at UNLV. UNLV has found a quarterback. Good for them. Bad for my total. Otherwise, I don't know if I said this or not last week, but I was definitely thinking, if not out loud, boy, the one thing that scares me about Oklahoma at Auburn going over is, and what happened, a Peyton Thorne pick 6. That almost has to be written into the script, even though it's not in a model, because you just knew it was going to happen at some point, right?
Yeah, and that is what did it in, right? It was close. It was very close, and again it was a pick 6 that cost them the game too, right? But yeah.
Yeah. Yep. So, anyways, just wanted to. We will usually going forward, starting next week, we'll put that in its proper place. But since we've been telling you all to wait for week 5, and if you were paid off handsomely, and we wanted to share our joy with you, hopefully you were able to cash as we were. If you're new, here's a glossary to the podcast. Take a screenshot of this and save it wherever you save all of your college football plays, analysis, discourse, and whatever else. And with that, let's get to the BuckMetrics through week 6. We finally have enough data for some proper team power ratings. Interesting here, we've talked about this team a lot, and they come out on top right now. Tennessee, still not favored to win the SEC, interestingly. They do have to play Georgia and Alabama, I believe, still. So the path isn't like super easy. I have them clearly the favorite team. And interesting in a couple slides exactly how they're doing that. Other things interesting, I'm still showing Washington as really high. You actually have them number 13 as well. For what, they had a good metrics and statistical game, even though they found a way with 3 missed field goals and just about the dumbest penalty you'll ever see on a good special teams play. They managed to lose that game. We're ahead of the curve on UNLV. Or I am. You're actually below the AP top 25. Robert, what's wrong with you? Come on. Get with it here.
Yeah.
Army, I'm bullish on. You're not there yet on them. My model loves California's defense. We'll get into them a little bit later. What else is interesting here? Texas State, I think, to your point in part one, I think they just found a way to lose that game. My model still likes them. And my model is a little more bullish on Arizona than you are. You were saying that you're not believing in them. So you've got my top 20 and then your rankings for here. Anything stand out to you on these?
Yeah, some interesting data points here. One, my model now hates Georgia. Just
Yeah.
absolutely not even in the top 25. And it's really interesting, and I think it could. I'm not sure. It's probably okay. 27th is a bit of an overreaction, but when you only have limited data points, and those data points are getting crushed by Bama and almost losing it to Kentucky, you can see how it gets there. And it's not limited data points. Like they haven't really, like aside from beating Clemson, which is not even on this list, not a huge impressive showing from them so far this year. So that's one thing. I don't know why my model doesn't like Tennessee. It should like Tennessee more. It's interesting. Some areas where I think our models diverge. Some I like yours better, but there's a lot I like mine better. Like UNLV, I think my model's wrong there. I think it's because it's the new quarterback. I think that's because it has limited data on him, so that impacts that as well. But I think my ranking for Miami, I feel is better. I feel like I like my Miami ranking better than your Miami ranking. Louisville, I could be convinced that they're a little higher, maybe a bit low on them. Notre Dame, I think, is about right. But
Big love for
for some
Indiana
of
at number
them,
10,
though,
too.
yeah, Model loves Indiana. Once you get rid of all the bad Indiana, Indiana's suddenly an amazing team. Who knew? And again, my model loves Oregon. I don't know why. I swear I'm not doing this. I swear. My model loved Oregon last year too. And like it's now maybe it's just the way that Dan Lanning wins games, maybe. I don't know, but it seems to love them. Yeah, the thing is I think especially in this ranking, there's not a lot that separates a lot of these teams. Like Ohio State and Oregon, there's not, you can't really, obviously, you can have some separation, but in terms of power rankings and what would happen on the field, there's very little to actually decide who would, like, how that would play out, right? Yeah, this is going to be really interesting as we go further, but it's good to have something that's at least better than the AP top 25 because that's awful.
I swear I saw some code in your sim thing that says if the area code is 503, take points times 10. Am I mistaken there?
Yeah, I don't think that was in there.
I
No.
caught you. I caught you. This is going to surprise you. Guess who has the best offense in all of college football? The midshipman of Navy, according to BuckMetrics. And you know what? I've rearranged the metrics here a little bit. We can back this up on kind of two sides here. Stay tuned on that for a little more details. Other things that stand out to me, Kansas State at number 8 is interesting. Avery Johnson's been hot and cold, to put it nicely. Washington State, I think we're still working through the data aberration there that starts with San Jose State and kind of works its way through their schedule and their opponents. And Iowa at number 18. I had to check my numbers 3 times, but they have a great running game. Obviously, it's not their passing game. Um, that's what stands out to me on this one. What about you?
Yeah, Iowa being in a top 20 power rankings? That's crazy. That's not supposed to happen. But Navy is legit. And again, it's when you combine the ability to run the ball and grind out defenses and to the point where they have to stack the box. And then if you have a quarterback that can hit wide open receivers, that's
Yep.
when this gets really dangerous. Now, to be fair, again, they're not playing amazing competition here. They're playing like kind of G5 teams like that. But if all of a sudden, so it looks really good, how would that look against like Oregon or Tennessee? Probably not as good. But again, if you grind out these defenses that are definitely non top tier defenses and you get them tired and you make them stack the box and they leave a wide open receiver and you could just hit that for a massive gain, that's when that offense becomes just so explosive.
And yeah, you're not just that's not just conjecture. We'll get to that in a second. Basically, when we get to the top quarterbacks, but from a ground game standpoint, Navy number 3, and you combine their nice passing game, and they're just that's a tough matchup from defensively. Army back at it, back to what they do best. There's that Iowa 186 GGAB. I think they've taken the stupid out of their passing game as much as anything. We've got them as a top 20 offense now. I'm
Yeah.
actually have the top 10
Oh,
team. Oh, go ahead, please.
yeah, no, we should in the future just break out what the Boise State running back Giante's GGAB is. He should just be his own GGAB.
Yeah, I'll make a note of that next time. That's a good one. I have the top 10 team Ryan here just as a measure of passing game explosivity. Miami, I can see with Cam Ward, they've got a couple of really nice receivers there. I've been heavy on North Texas basically since about week 2, and we've seen that they've backed it up. Their defense is obviously the problem for them, but offensively they've got the pieces. JMU is still strong. What would I don't even know what to. All credit to Gundy for adjusting. Last year he just said, "Yeah, our passing game stinks, so now we're just gonna have Oliver Gordon be the whole thing," and now he's retreated back to being a whatever back. It's okay. We'll just have an explosive passing game now. I just credit to him for just like making do with whatever's like on his plate right there. In Syracuse with Kyle McCord, I'm not familiar with the receivers. I'll have to look into that a little closer going forward. But that's a lot of good signs for Fran Brown in year 1 at Syracuse.
Yeah, it's Syracuse is interesting. I don't know how good they are yet. They did take down Stanford, or no, Stanford took them down. Sorry. Yeah, they're not a bad team. They do play UNLV, and they're not particularly favored there. But we'll get to that
No.
in a second. But yeah, so far they've been like Kyle McCord again seems to be the pickup of this of that transfer portal, right? That seemed to be a lot of good value there if you could have grabbed McCord, and they definitely seem to have profited from that. So yeah.
And you know who else, against my predictions, who has turned out to be a good pickup of the transfer portal? Will Howard, now in the top 10 of the transfer of our Apex here. Now, granted, he's throwing to guys who are apparently being covered by people like you and me. They're very open. Let's see once they play a functional defense here, but quite a rebound from him. Curtis Rourke, former I don't know if he was MAC Player of the Year, but former Ohio quarterback. Indiana's been running the ball really tough, and now you've got a really efficient quarterback like this. That is a tough combination right there. Here's a sentence I did not anticipate saying in March. I'm glad USC doesn't play Indiana.
Yeah.
And look at this. These numbers are just ridiculous. 349 apex for Blake Horvath. Now he throws it like he's throwing enough to qualify at least, which is something. It's not like it's 4 passes a game. Usually you don't have the service academy guys qualify, but he's doing it enough. And why not? If you're throwing at a rate of 349, yeah, I'll throw it 12 times instead of 5 a game.
Yeah, it's the quarterback apex there is interesting, right? Again, having a Navy quarterback there is insane. But again, that offense has been doing really well, right? They got a new coach there this offseason, doing really well so far this year. Archie Manning, just in a few games, already up there to 4. That's crazy as well. JMU, who would have thought after losing Signetti to Indiana, you come back, new starting quarterback, and look already there. JMU is such a scary team, just straight up, right? With Will Howard, I will say there is a giant asterisk on that, which is basically like they think they played a couple MAC teams and Michigan State. So give them time. They play Iowa this week. That's actually a serious defense. Let's see how Ohio State does against decent competition. But outside of that, Jackson Dart is still number 2 on this list, and he got shut down by Kentucky. It was such a weird year this year, especially on the quarterback side.
Yeah. The player, Ryan, a few new names in here. Omari Kelly from Middle Tennessee. Like I said last week, and we'll get into I don't think we're playing him this week, but like I said, Middle Tennessee surprisingly has a good pass offense this year. And Kelly was a wide receiver at Auburn and just the missing piece. Probably, I don't know if he would have any familiarity with Derek Mason from SEC days. Maybe not, but that's probably how he wound up there. Deshaun Stribling in Oklahoma State just talked about how they found a way to reinvent themselves again. Harold Fannin is actually a tight end for Bowling Green, and nothing about Bowling Green makes any sense to me. I don't get it at all. How they're somehow good and not good. I just don't get it. And Skylar Bell for Connecticut. I don't know. I've seen Connecticut interestingly popping up as not bad on a couple places this year, which is interesting considering what a rough season they had last year.
Yeah, Bowling Green, very weird, and Connecticut, again, depending on the week, either really good or really bad. It's a very weird Connecticut team this year.
Yeah. Some other player apex of note, like I said in part 1, Eli Holstein at Pitt. Things are really working out well with him, and they have a new OC. I'm just holding my breath to see how long until Narduzzi does something really dumb with him. Sorsby at Cincinnati. He was so bad at Indiana. I didn't see this working out, but it's working out very well. I think the market's probably a little late on this one. I forget. They also have a good wide receiver transfer that I love too. I think it was the kid from UTEP, Kelly Akuri. You remember that guy? He was in the top 10 last year for receivers at UTEP. He's at Cincinnati. So you got a
Mm-hmm.
couple of nice pieces there. That total was 85, and the actual was 85. The posted over under was 58, and that almost hit by halftime. The market's been a little late on Cincinnati here. We talked about Kyle McCord really doing a good job at Syracuse. Also, just talked about this quarterback Vatiato at Middle Tennessee. Carson Beck down to a 112 apex, even though he was awesome in the second half. When you're that bad as he was in the first half at Alabama, as a reminder, he was a 150 something last year. He's just
Yep.
You saw what he is when he's at his best, but just clearly there's not a lot of that this season. And shout out to Isaiah and his arch rivals in Minnesota. We got into it about Max Brosmer, and so far Isaiah and I are winning that argument with his handsome apex of a lowly 69. Any reactions to any of these?
Yeah, the Carson Beck one is just crazy, right? Like it's what are you doing here? This Carson Beck was in some cases projected to be the number 1 overall draft pick next year, and it's just not happening. He is not getting there. And yeah, it's just not a great year from Carson Beck, and just not a great year from Georgia as a whole. So, yeah.
Are you familiar with Bob Seger, musician?
I think so, yeah.
So he had a few well-known songs, Night Moves. I forget what else. Oh my gosh! But one of them was called "Like a Rock,"
Mhm.
and I bring that up because 2 weeks ago we had Ethan Hampton in the top 10, and now he's in our bum list. He has sunk like a rock. I've never seen anybody move so quick from one of those lists to the other. Congratulations, Mr. Hampton. And that's not even why they lost. It was those dumb fumbles, let alone his passing game. Good to see another Marshall quarterback coming in here. Charles Huff's still working his magic. He ruined Cam Fancher for good. Now he's doing it again with this guy named Stone Earl. Our old friend Grant Wilson from years past making a return visit here from Old Dominion into the bum list, and a couple of new names this year. Kirk Francis, congratulations, welcome. And you knew it was a matter of time before Ball State and their horrible season was going to show up here. So, Caden Simonza, not familiar with you, but familiar with your game now. Congrats on debuting on the bum list at number 5. Good to see our friend Charles Huff working some more magic here.
Yeah, it's again, some of these are easily predictable on this list, but Ethan Hampton just again from beating Notre Dame to ending up down here, it's just an insane drop in just a few weeks. Just like weeks, it's just been weeks.
Yep. All right. My top defenses. This is the narrative that nobody is getting. Everybody thinks Tennessee, and they think, oh, it's going to be that crazy throw for 500 yards a game. First of all, they actually run more often than they pass. Secondly, they are really outstanding on defense. Look at this. They are a touchdown better than the number 2 team in the country, Texas. That's what stands out to me. The team that I guess is, I don't know if there's like a gag order on them, like I talked about in part 1, but Iowa State, maybe I'm the only one that's allowed to talk about them. Cal, like I said, my model loves their defense. Not exactly sure why. Same with San Jose State. In between those, we have Minnesota, who is going to be a really big challenge for my Trojans this week. That's not one of the dual model plays, but we'll talk about that one a little. Washington, top 20, both sides of the ball, offense and defense. As is Oregon at 18, going back to Arizona State. That's interesting. Their defense was really bad last year. I think this is, I don't know. Kenny Dillingham's just, let's just go back. Kenny Dillingham wasn't even a good offensive coordinator at Florida State. And then he goes to Oregon and he's a genius, and now he's like a really good head coach. I don't get that. That's worth its own, I don't know, 30 for 30 or something. And then Duke at number 20, Manny Diaz, improving on the Mike Elko defense at Duke. I didn't see that coming.
Yeah, it's crazy that because when Elko left, he didn't take a ton of the pieces with him. He took some, but not everything. Maybe some stuff was left, and Diaz has come in. Like maybe Duke was just good, and we give a lot of the credit to Elko. And to be fair, he definitely has done a lot at Duke, and continues to be pretty good there at Texas A&M, considering what was there. But that's not bad. Definitely Duke's doing a lot better than I thought they would. 1,000%, not even close to where I thought they'd be this year.
Yeah, it's weird. I had him as a who knows, but I guess I had who knows like limited upside of 7 wins. That would have been really good to me. And I believe they're 4 or 5-0. They're undefeated, right?
Yes, they have not lost, I don't think.
And you know what? We didn't even talk about them in like the wide open ACC still.
Yeah.
Only in the context of I can't wait to see Manny at Mario. It makes me smile so much. I can't wait. Man. All right, some metrics to go with those power ratings. Again, boy, Minnesota with that defensive apex, that's going to be a fascinating matchup against USC, a good but not great passing game. Will be very interesting to see who wins that. There's California's strength, like I said, at number 4. But new to the list this week is Oregon at number 9 in defensive apex. So that's their passing defense and the run metrics. Toledo jumps into the top 10, which is first time for them. And then, like I talked about, Arizona State, it just seemed like they were missing a lot up front. This is a really good job. I'm going to probably at some point do a deeper dive on their defensive coordinator because this guy's not had a lot to work at, but he's making it work so far in Tempe.
Yeah. Again, interesting the Oregon jumping up there. They actually completely shut down UCLA, and that scoreline is a bit deceptive. With I think it was 13 to 35, 13 or something. 6 of those points were from a pick six, which was like an unfortunate thing where an Oregon player fell down and then it was just a pick six. 7 of those points, actually. That score was even more one sided than it even looked. Yeah, they completely shut down UCLA. And watch out for Oregon. They're going to have some interesting games coming up. And again, Nebraska, they're top GGAB. Toledo, a MAC team, now competitive too. The model seems to like them in a couple games. So the MAC we could be looking at some very interesting MAC games coming up.
Yeah, aside from like Toledo good, which I thought might happen, but never root for. I don't know how Northern Illinois fits in all this with their just ability to just do stupid things and yet be so good in everything else aside from not doing dumb things. That's going to be interesting to watch. So, with that, we will go to our previews of this week's games. We will start with our dual model plays. The first one, you and I are both back on Texas State. My model loves their offense. Your model loves what they can do to Troy's horrible defense here. Not shown explicitly is just Jared Parker just being a bad hire. Big advantage here in quarterback play. In quarterback play. Also, you've got basically serious vulnerability by on Troy's side versus Texas State somehow has the pass defense locked down. Troy has problems, severe problems in the running defense as well, and these guys will run a little bit more than you think for such a wide open offense. So I have the favorite by 22. You have them by 23. I love when our numbers are so similar. So I've already gotten down on this. How about you?
Yeah, I grabbed it as well. I like how basically the thing is just that I have both teams scoring a touchdown less, and that's it. It's just I just like the game ends sooner. But no, yeah, it's interesting. I know we got burned by Texas State last week, but I feel like that means we should probably take another shot at it. I don't know if this is necessarily our models liking Texas State or just hating Troy, and I think it's more the hating Troy part than the liking Texas State part. But
Yeah, well, I'll tell you that you don't get 45 in my model just by playing a shitty opponent. There's got to be
no,
some proof of concept on offense under my model for that. All right, we talked about both these teams a little bit. UMass, rough season for them. The Sun God not really coming through. And yet, a much better season than Ethan Hampton, especially Ethan Hampton, as of late. Now, the good news for Northern Illinois is that the UMass pass defense is not really typical Don Brown level. It's quite obliging. Then you've got the Northern Illinois pass defense is really stingy. I think that's probably where this matchup falls apart for UMass real quick. I'll put it this way: my model loves that Northern Illinois held NC State to 180 yards or whatever it was last week. It doesn't really care about the fumbles. It can't see them as possibly repeatable. Maybe it's a little more optimistic than I am, but man, you've got some pretty grim numbers here on offense and defense for UMass here. I've got the favorites by 28. You got them by 44. So that 17 looks very low to both of us. So this is another dual model play.
yeah, Northern Illinois is one of those ones where it's. I think this is definitely obviously the models still like Northern Illinois, but I think the models also don't like UMass, and I think that those are just converging to this just blowout, and I think that's what we're seeing in the model. And yeah, I think mine's probably a bit over, but again, we've both got very clear. We've got lots of clearance on both sides here, so I think that yeah, I don't think we should be worried about. I think the 17.5 is pretty fair value here. This should probably be three-score game, full three
Yeah,
scores.
easily. All right, this next one is interesting to me since I've obviously already spent parts of part one and part two just saying how much I love Navy's offense and just how completely inept Air Force has been just horrible on offense last year and then or all season. And then last week they just said, hey, let's just suck on defense too and give up 31 to Wyoming. So now you've got look at this defensive apex of 158 for Air Force against this, it's not like Navy throws a lot, but you might actually have a school record for touchdown passes by Navy in this game. Only because literally you might have 6 completions for 5 touchdowns. It might go that way. And you've got this awesome running offense. Air Force only does one thing and they don't even do it, just a GGAB of 103. This is just physical dominance right here. When you've got a GGAB that's over 100 yards better on offense than defense. Talked about Navy. I have them as the number one offense right now. There seems to be, and we'll come back to this because I have this as a total play also. There seems to be a little bit of inertia when service academies play each other because they know the triple option so well because they practice against it all off season or all summer, if you will, and in spring ball. I can guarantee you, Robert, I can promise you. Now, this doesn't mean that Navy will cover, but when I see Air Force's quarterback is this good, and I see that Navy's quarterback is this good, there is nothing the Air Force is practicing against in their own scrimmages that resembles anything that we're seeing Navy do. Not only does I have them by 29, your model has them by 28. which I love, and I can't see this one being close. I think that kind of conventional wisdom, if you will, about academy versus academy, absolutely gets tossed here.
Yeah, this because again, whenever people always say, "Oh, whenever the armed forces play each other, it's always a close game," and blah 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 blah. But like straight up, one of these is just way better than the other, and I feel like there's a lot of respect for that one. With its all, they're gonna play each other close, but one is just way better than the other one. I don't think it's quite. And even again, last week, was Air Force favorites against Wyoming? I think they weren't. They
It just
doesn't matter.
I don't
But
even
this
want to
is
think about that.
yeah. But that's the thing, right?
They
Like
couldn't
I
have because it was the road game. It was
true.
it just yeah, it's probably Wyoming by a couple.
But I don't think it's quite sunk in just how bad this Air Force team is this year. And I think that there's a lot of oh they'll be competitive and all this stuff, but it's just no, it's not true.
Yeah.
They're gonna get absolutely they could get absolutely demolished in this game, just straight up.
And this is not like we had Air Force as a program. The last 2 years, we got snookered by them, and
Hmm.
they found ways to really do dumb things at least twice a season. And now they don't have that. They're starting from a worse spot. All right, this line looks short to me. I think it's actually come down since. So Miami of Ohio is at Toledo. I think that this is now at 6 or 6.5. I did not update these lines since I made these slides last night because Robert and I are grown ups and we work, and I don't have time to check my work all the time. I think I actually got this at 6.5, if that sounds right. I actually at in our season preseason preview, I actually Miami a little bit to take the mat because they were the only team that can't pass the ball. And our guy Duck talked me off of that. And thank God for that because Gabbert has been a disaster this year. Apex of 55, and they don't play any defense. When it comes to the run game, Toledo is back to more of your classic Toledo, just very nasty defense. I This quarterback difference and this run game difference, if you take your difference here in your GGAB offense versus defense, you've got a soft team here and you've got a sturdy physical team here where there's a gap of 32 for Toledo. I've got the favorites by 16. You have them by 34. So I'm very comfortable with Toledo here. This looks one of your better Toledo teams. Not to be mean too, but it's interesting that the offense is pretty much there with DeQuan Finn going off to save Dave Aranda's job.
And that's not working too well either. He's not even the starting quarterback right now. I think he got injured. But no, I think Miami, Ohio isn't great, and Toledo seems pretty good. So yeah, I don't mind this Toledo play here. I think I saw this spread. I was like, oh, this spread seems weird, but you're right there with me. So yeah, all right, let's run this. Yeah.
We were talking about how it's weird to make out what Bowling Green is, but I can tell you this: I look at these numbers and I definitely know what Akron is, and it is capital B bad. They don't do anything well. They do not pass the ball well. They do not run the ball at all, let alone well. They have no explosivity on off in their passing game. They defend neither the run nor the pass. That is a clean sweep, my friends. Bowling Green, all right, you've got Connor Bazelak and that kind of bad apex here. At least you've got some explosivity in the passing game. The run defense is not much, but guess what? You're going against one of the absolute worst run offenses, so I'm not really worried about that. And the defensive apex is average for FBS, which is actually gonna be pretty good when you're coming into MAC play with that, considering just a lot of bad quarterback play in the MAC, and especially a lot of bad quarterback play at Akron. I've got the favorites by 24. You've got them by 42. The 15 just seems, I don't know. Maybe there's an injury we don't know about, but I'm happy to find out.
Yeah, no, for Akron, like I'm out on Akron, just straight up. I got, I was on them last week against Ohio. They were competitive for a first half and then nothing. And I think my model is now, yeah, okay, this is the worst team in the one of the worst teams. To be fair to Kennesaw State, one of the worst teams in the again Akron versus Kennesaw State. Who wins that game? I don't know. What's the ticket price of that game? I don't know. Free if you
It's,
buy a hot dog or something. I don't.
I was gonna not even that. No, they're giving you free hot dogs to go to that one.
Yeah, it's Akron is bad. I just it is sad to say because this is a team that's shown some potential at times, but no. And Bowling Green apparently is good somehow. Okay, I'll take Bowling Green over this team, and I think 15 isn't enough. Not enough. Not
Yeah.
near enough.
I think the market's just, again, here's another G5 Sun Belt on the fringes where the market's just slow to. I like Louisiana. Talked to a lot of smart people that like Louisiana. I came around them as I was prepping for the Sun Belt pod, and basically everybody I've talked to really likes them too. Nice Apex of 113 coming off a win at Wake Forest. That's pretty big, a road win against a Power 4 team. I like that they are efficient in both the run and the passing game, and they have some explosivity. Defensively, I expected them to be good. They're not great against the run, but let's just start with Tate Rodemaker being Tate Rodemaker, and they don't run the ball. The one thing is, when they do complete it, they have some explosivity. That's just not going to be very often, apparently. And talking about explosive, they love to give up the yards in bushels and boatloads here. I just don't. I think because it's early, I think the market isn't really getting that Louisiana's, a good Sun Belt team, and Southern Miss is really bad FBS team. So I've got Louisiana by 36. You have them by 30, or I have them by 26. You have them by 33. With two touchdowns, there's a lot of wiggle room here. So I've already got the Cajuns here.
The only thing that worries me a little bit in this game is the fact that this is potentially a letdown game after Louisiana upset Wake Forest last week, but I don't think Wake Forest is pretty good either. So yeah, this is I just think Southern Miss is pretty bad. And again, Louisiana to Southern Miss not that far, right? This isn't a far road trip. It's not going cross country. I like Louisiana here.
All right, we this is interesting. So this we actually think that this no 27-13. Yeah. So Tennessee giving 13 and a half at Arkansas. I went on and on about how much I like Tennessee's defense. Arkansas has been a nice, fun ride, but I think that this is the game when all the dumb, weird things that Taylor Green does with the ball catches up with you, because now you're going against a real nasty pass defense here. And oh yeah, a zero defensive GGAB, which means literally nobody is better against the run this season than the Tennessee Volunteers. Like I was saying earlier, people think about, now this is a very handsome apex for Nico at 159, but look at this is where they run the ball. 206 GGAP. That's, if you're not a service academy, that's about as good as it gets. Arkansas has been pretty good, much better than I expected than coming into the season on defense, but this is a different kettle of fish for them. Both have this. Now, just a reminder, I play totals with an elite unit. So I want an elite defense for underplays and elite offense for overplays. And if it's not elite, I'm not even going to look at it. That's the only thing that you can't rely on, just a bad defense being bad for an over. You need somebody really good, because that's going to be much more likely to be consistent game to game. Total is 60 and a half. I think that basically the market is not understanding this part of the equation, and they're seeing this part with the explosivity, and they're overlooking all the dumb things that happens when Taylor Green just has to kind of hold on to the ball for more than a few seconds. I've got the total at 33. You have the total at 33. That is 27 and a half points of margin against the total of 60 and a half. I haven't played this yet because some unlicensed books, unfortunately, don't post totals until Tuesday. But this is a dual model play on the under.
Yeah, I wouldn't worry. I don't. I think we're still gonna. I think no matter what that total opens up tomorrow, I think you're still gonna find some value. I don't. Wouldn't run. I think you're okay. But no, I actually really like this play. Right. I thought when I ran this, I'm like, that seems like a really low number, but you have basically the same number, right? So
Yeah.
it's really interesting. I will say that like when Tennessee played Oklahoma and they beat them, I think it was like 25-15 or something like that, somewhere around there. That seems about right. I was like, that seems like a really low scoring game. And I don't think people quite realize that the reason is because Tennessee's defense is just so good, right? Tennessee blew
Mm-hmm.
up NC State. They had 59 to something, and people were like, "Oh, it's because Tennessee's offense is so good." But okay, I think NC State is just bad, and I think it's also their offense is good, but their defense is bad. I think also Tennessee's defense is good. I think people forget about that, and the more I think about it, like Tennessee and sorry, not Tennessee, Arkansas and Texas A&M, that was a pretty low scoring game this weekend. What was it, 24-17? Or no, it wasn't 24-17. It was like
20, it was a 4 point game, 21
20.
17.
21, yeah, 21-17, yeah. That's not particularly high scoring. That's roughly what we have, a little bit lower than our total, but roughly what we project this game to be. So I think there's a non-zero chance that this could, again, I'm not taking a side on this game. Your model clearly takes a side. Your model really likes Tennessee here. I have this exactly as the spread, basically 13, 13 and a half, whatever. But yeah, I actually, the more I think about it, the more I actually really like this under, because Arkansas's offense isn't great. They only are really able to score that many points against really bad teams, off Oklahoma State. And I think their defense is good enough to stop Tennessee from absolutely just blowing them out here. So yeah, give me the under. I can't believe I'm saying that, but give me the under here. Let's see how this goes. Because the thing is,
Yeah,
there's
it's
a lot of there's a lot of coverage there in case, like, oh, okay, we're projecting this to be 30. Okay, if it's 40, oh no, right? We've got lots of clearance there.
yeah. I'm curious. I just want to look here. Give me 1 second, real quick. I'm curious if this has moved because I think if anything, this one's probably going to move with us. I don't hear a lot of chatter. People say Tennessee's got a good defense, but again, it seems like all the hubbub about them is on the offensive side of the ball, offense. So let me see if 60, 60 and a half. So it hasn't really moved. It might actually have gone down a little bit, but I don't see this really moving a lot down from here. Is that kind of fair? I'm not the best when it comes to predicting
Yeah,
lines. That's
it
one thing I got to work on.
it's on 60 and a half. It hasn't moved. I still see
Okay.
60 and a half. I got 60 and a half. Don't think it's, again, I think in some of the there in basically every game you always have people dying to bet the over. Not
Yeah.
a lot of underbetters.
Yep. That's why I like to do that. A lot of room in my boat.
Yes.
All right. Nevada hit miss, interestingly, at San Jose State -7. San Jose State, for whom my model has irrational joy. Now, they do have I look at this, okay, pretty good run defense, very good pass defense. I think it looks at what Washington State's done in a couple of other games, especially that Texas Tech game, and that really polishes this up. And then you take that, and then how San Jose State just dominated Kennesaw State and some other bad team. They played Air Force. This number will normalize a little bit, but I'm not going to argue with the model on totals ever. You saw that they're like over a 30% ROI. For me, this is interesting. This low GGAB, but they don't run the ball. They pass the ball quite a bit. Nick Nash is probably the best receiver in the Mountain West outside of Ricky White at UNLV. Nevada got off to that great start where they almost beat SMU. Then they basically showed everybody that Jared Parker at Troy is an incompetent dork. And they've got some pretty poor numbers still. They're better, way better than last year. They were among the absolute worst last season. There's actually a lot of improvement here. But this is interesting. As much as I attribute a data glitch to my model liking the San Jose State defense so much, guess who likes them even more? Your model, limiting Nevada to 7. I have Nevada scoring 9. I have Sparty West by 24. You have them by 32. A lot of margin to that 7 points, so that can move against us, and still plenty of time to get Sparty here.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think I like San Jose State here. I think San Jose State, I bet them, and it was the one night game, and I think I fell asleep, and I just woke up and it's, oh cool, I won money, because it was like, the spread was like 13 and a half. It's like, oh, they won in overtime. Okay, cool. But no, it was, I think the San Jose State team is actually pretty good comparative to Nevada. So I'll give me the Spartans here.
And yeah, that offense is just it took about a half a game. They played an FCS team in their first week. I forget who it was. Oh, Sacramento State, and they had some glitches there. But after that first game, that quarterback started to come around. He used to be at Washington State, so he's got a little bit of a power program pedigree, and it's working very well. I like that offensive coordinator. He was at Texas State last year as the passing game coordinator, so that's working out well. This one kind of doesn't surprise me just with how much my model loves Washington on both sides of the ball, as we talked about earlier in this part too. Then you throw in that Michigan's, still struggling to throw the ball. Apex up to 10 now. Good job on that, guys. No explosiveness in the running game. And actually, this is interesting. As much as Michigan is a run heavy team, guess what? They're not that much. They're not gonna get that many more yards rushing above average than Washington is. Not surprisingly, Michigan's got a better run defense here, but look who has a better pass defense here, Washington. Now, Michigan has played Texas and USC, so maybe we just call that a draw, or Michigan's better. But I don't think there's a huge advantage here for Michigan, specifically in the pass defense, which brings it back to here. And offensively, this is not a close game. Washington's a really good offense. I've got them as bettable for as elite on both over and unders because they're good on both sides of the ball. Again, here's the gap in the game right here. Just Michigan basically an average FBS team on offense. So what does that mean? That means that you have them scoring 12 points. I have the Wolverines with 6. Means you have Washington by 22. I have Washington by 22, which means that we have 20 points margin against the line of 2.5. Good for us. Makes us look smart unless Michigan wins this one.
I think I will place a bet on this game, but I don't have a huge need to place a bet on this game because I bet this preseason at Washington plus 10.5 spread and money line. So I get to sit back. I feel like it's a pretty good bet now, but yeah, no, this should not be a comparison. And is this Michigan's first road conference game? I think it is, right?
It's their first road game.
Yeah, I don't know how you get to play Texas and USC and Minnesota at home before they make you go somewhere else, but yeah, good luck. Good luck going to the West Coast and playing a decent team that's probably pissed that they lost in New Jersey on a Friday night. So, yeah, good luck with that.
Yeah, let's. Yeah, I don't know. Just going back to part one here. I wonder if Mr. Holmes will have like bruises on his body from the code red that he got from from his core there. I will also say that Washington is better now than, and I don't know about the fans because they do have 2 losses. I'll say that they're way better than I expected. I've had a couple of losses in that I have them under 6.5 wins. But I think that Washington's farther along than probably most Washington fans thought, which means that this will be a much better crowd than you probably would expect, especially since it is your first ever home game as a Big Ten team. That is always a good stadium unless they absolutely suck at the end of the Jimmy Lake thing. When they're even just reasonably good, it'll be good. I think this will be an underrated, tough venue for Michigan, especially since they haven't played on the road, as you said. So, with confidence, I've got this one already in my pending file. Have made that bet. So, this one has actually moved. I think that, yeah. So, like I said, I haven't updated my work. This is now UCF is giving 2.5 at Florida. This has moved across 0. We actually had that when UCF was getting a 1.5. We actually had this UCF and the over, but with the move towards UCF, we're just left to look at numbers like, notwithstanding what happened in that disaster against Colorado, maybe they were actually looking a little bit forward to this game. Robert, is that possible at Florida? Or we're
So,
looking at bad Colorado defense? Possible.
I definitely think so, right? Remember, this is Florida rivalry, right? This is little brother versus big brother, right? I think you're like, we got to focus on them. And maybe they overlooked Colorado, which was a dumb thing to do because it made me very sad specifically. But yeah,
Here's the thing that we don't have dual model on this side. We can just look at really beautiful numbers. Hey, beautiful passing game, beautiful explosivity in the passing game. Run the ball about as good as anybody that's not Tennessee or Service Academy. And by the way, very obliging in terms of your pass defense too. Now, can Graham Mertz make hay with that? I don't know. The other thing, my model is pace agnostic. UCF really plays at a very fast pace, so this could actually be higher than my projected total here. But we basically have the same number here. I have a total of 72, you have 69. Total of 60.5 looks very nice. Probably hasn't moved. So dual model play on the over here.
yeah, I think a rare dual model over, but a welcome one. I think if there was one that could definitely go over that. I think I like this game too. Two numbers I'll point out. UCF GGAB per game 202. Florida defensive GGAB per game 166. That's not great. That is not
Oh, it's
great.
great. You're betting the over.
Yeah, no, for sure. But the thing is, though, that like you look back to the Texas A&M game, it wasn't all. Yes, they lost to Texas A&M's backup QB, but the thing that really did them in was I think 200 yards on the ground against Florida. Florida cannot stop the run this year at all. So you've got one of the best rushing teams coming to town against one of the worst rushing defenses in the country. And apparently, Florida is currently 1-3 at home this year. Oh, sorry, 1-2 at home. One win in 3 games, 1-2 at home. Their only win being against Samford, who they paid to come there. Like, they lost brutally to Miami, and then they also lost brutally to Texas A&M at home. Apparently, Florida needs to just get out of Florida. They need to get out of the swamp for some reason. Apparently, they play horribly in the swamp this year, and oh wow, they're playing in the swamp. So, yeah, the -2.5. That's I completely believe that. Not even like that. Yep, I'll buy it. I'll buy it. It's is this Napier's last game? But see, this is the thing. Now, this is how you know it's
Yeah.
time because it's every game. You're like, is this the last game? Is this the last game? And that's how you know. I think it's we talked about it before, right? Cutting 50 basis points. If there's a problem, don't do like half measures here. Now, to be fair, there's a bit of runway here. It's still September. You don't have to fire a coach in September. You could fire them in October. But this is the thing. It's like where you're now at a point where it's one more bad loss. One more, not even at the point where they're playing good teams yet, and we're like basically people were like he could go 5-0 through the stretch and still get fired, and he's gonna at best go 3-2. Not good.
Yeah. A couple things. It'll be October by the time this podcast drops.
True, that is true.
You didn't even mention how horrible Florida's pass defense is at a 171 defensive apex. And we did have a dual model overplay last week. That was that Texas Tech Cincinnati game, which ended at 85 and above the closing total of 58 and a half. So we usually have unders, but yeah, I'm happy to play it over with a profile like this where I can really see it. Then I love that.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of which, this is going the other way, but I can definitely see this working. Like we talked about earlier, let's just start on the under here. We have what is an elite Arizona State defense here. Guess what's not elite? Jalen Daniels this year, and basically the whole Kansas offense without Andy Kultelnicki. So you're looking at a 10. Basically, you got Kansas in the conference road game. I think it's their first of the season. We both have them scoring about the same amount. We've got Arizona State I have Arizona State by 15. You have them by 12. So this is a play on both the under and the Sun Devils here, which is an odd combination, but I think that really fits the profile of this team here and this game with negatives up here and a big positive number here on this defense. So favorite to the under, home favorite to the under 50 and a half. I'm happy with this one.
Yeah, I like it too. I think it's a good play, and I'm excited to see this one play out. Yeah.
And is this the last one here? Yep, this is the last dual model play. I actually got this one at I think 13. Isaiah, I think, asked about this one. Like I said, my model has a real love for Cal. I guess it's their passing defense. And if I look at the descriptives up here, we've got this really nice passing game with huge. I think they were number one in Team Ryan. So they have a very explosive passing game. And that on the road, and I think this is a 7:30. This is an after dark game against this defense. That's a weird place to play. That's a weirder place to play after dark. That's a really weird place to play if you're in Coral Gables and the cool things in Miami and you're like around the weird hippies when it's dark outside and people are just scared of everything that's going to happen in Berkeley. This could just get really weird. This actually, boy, this could ruin the whole Manny Diaz at Mario thing. This could be where just this brings out the worst of Mario too. Anyways, I actually have Cal by 2 here, and that just goes back to just how much I like my model loves their defense. You have Miami by 5. You've got more than that. That rule of thumb is 7. You're right there at 7. So if you want it, Robert, you probably can't get it now at 13, but I got this one at 12, and I have room to spare.
Yeah, so actually I got it at 13 as well. I saw that line. I said, "That's wrong." Ran the model, said it was wrong. Immediately bet it, and then I messaged you and I said, "There's no way this isn't a dual model play," and sure enough, it was a dual model play. And I can confirm for you that 13 is gone now. It is down to a 10. And remember, this game starts at 10:30 Eastern time, so this is ACC after dark. There is no reason this should have been 13. There's probably no reason this should have even been 10. This has an actual defense. Good luck to
This
that.
should be the line that stinks. And it might actually close at 7 or so, and that would be like
Yeah,
the what? Can you believe?
I'd love to
Um,
see the money splits on this one, but yeah, this is the trap. This is the trap line. This is the like. Oh yeah, Miami's good. Cam Ward, he had that Heisman moment last week. Of course he could cover 13.5 against the Cal team. Of course, no. That's how you know. It's like when a team that you know plays a team that doesn't get a lot of attention on the betting lines, and the line is like something weird like that, you're like, yeah, no, they're gonna. And again, it's just like you see it coming. We see it coming a mile away because we look at that Cam Ward play and we're like, that was insanely risky, and he's lucky that wasn't a pick six. Other people are like, he's a magician. Yeah, okay. Good luck with that this week. Good luck trying that against the Cal defense that completely shut down Auburn. And yes, they lost against Florida State, but they also completely shut down Florida. Florida State scored 2 touchdowns against them. Good luck doing that against them. Good luck.
Also, that game's on ESPN, so they're not hiding it on the CW or the ACC network, which basically nobody gets. So that'll be a fun watch. I might actually start my Saturday night cigar very late just to catch most of that one. Um, these are my model total plays. Just going over these: Texas State and lead offense. We don't have enough points there for Texas State, or basically in that game, but I've got this at 68 versus a total of 57.5. I don't know where you. Boy, I guess your model is just still catching up on basically how bad Ethan Hampton is at Northern Illinois. I've got Northern Illinois going. That's only a margin of 5, but when you've got an elite off or defense, might remember if you were in the preseason, if you from the preseason number one preview, I have like regular plays and like you can get a smaller margin with like your truly just top defenses, and that's where I have Northern Illinois. And boy, with how bad UMass's offense is, I can see them getting shut out pretty easily. Unless Northern Illinois wants to fumble 4 more times inside their own 20-yard line just to see what's happening. UCLA at Penn State, the elite defense. So I've got margin of 8 points there. You show that just about as the proper line. Again, going back to the Navy Air Force thing, this is that those academy versus academy. And this is my model. My model doesn't give a crap about that, and I would usually override this, but based on that, what I said about there's no way Air Force is as prepared for anything like they're going to see from the Navy passing game, I'm happy to go over that 36.5. I'm really surprised that the market's kind of treating this as like your classic rather than this year's Navy, but maybe I'm wrong, or maybe just I'm way ahead of the market on this one. We'll see. Um, Army has a really strong offense too. So I've got the total of them at Tulsa at 62. The market's at 50.5. You have this going way under. Army does have a good defense too, so I can see that the argument there. Auburn at Georgia, my model loves Georgia's offense, not so much their defense, interestingly. So I've got this at 62 and the market's at 52. So I got the over there. Nevada at San Jose State, I talked about that. I've got this going under with that San Jose State elite defense, which your model also likes. And finally, my big worry of the week is USC's offensive line against Minnesota's defense. I've got the total at 40. Unfortunately, I have USC losing this game straight up, so let's not hope for that, but let's hope for under the 51.5. You've got that basically just about the same at 53. So any of these stand out to you?
Yeah, I a couple ones. My Army at Tulsa one I think seems a bit weird to me. I think that one seems wrong. That one kind of sticks out as though that shouldn't be there. As well, I think with UMass at Northern Illinois, sometimes my model has a habit of just breaking when one team completely outmatches the other, and I think that's what's happening there. So I like your underplay there as well. Outside of that, I think it's weird that my model has basically the exact same total that the books have for Navy Air Force. That seems weird. But if it's projecting a lot of running, then maybe that's what the books are seeing as well. Yeah, I think it's. I like a lot of your calls. Also, USC at Minnesota. That's not. That's a nice under too. I don't hate that either. Cause that's pretty. The Michigan USC game I think went under. I think under 51 as well, but I think under whatever that total was as well. Minnesota's like surprisingly okay. They were competitive against Michigan, but Michigan is maybe not that good. We'll see. But yeah, I hope USC does well here. That's the hope. So we'll see.
Thank you. I hope your Ducks lose, but that's every week, and they're not going to lose anyway. So, as you're a better person than I am. All right, our preseason predictions. We had a few of these upset predictions that came through last week. I was wrong on Western Michigan over Marshall. Sorry, Coach Lance Taylor. But I did call Louisiana at Wake. Called that straight up, and they won as a dog. Who else did we have here? And then Duck was on Akron over Ohio, which did not happen. So we're looking at this week coming up. I called Pitt over North Carolina. I think Pitt is a small favorite. I'm very good with that.
Mm-hmm.
This is interesting. You had Stanford over Virginia Tech. Who knows what on earth we're going to have with Virginia Tech going. Wow, a couple of Bay Area ACC games. How about that? They can't even alternate them. The ACC just, whoever does their scheduling should just look for a new job because they're not doing it well. Who knows what Virginia Tech's going to be like after that brutal loss at Miami. Now you're going to basically an empty house to play Stanford. ODU over North Carolina as well. Don't know about that. ODU stunk, but they have a bum list guy, and Coastal's been surprisingly functional, especially on offense. Pretty sure Brendan would want to do over on this one. Auburn over Georgia. So, although he had a good case, Hugh Freeze he can pull one or two out a year, and maybe that's his spot. So, we'll see.
I think I wanna concede Akron over Northern Illinois now, just to get it over with. But I will
Fair.
say though that Oklahoma over Texas and Nebraska over Ohio State, those are interesting. And like I could like Oklahoma Texas is next week, Red River is next week. I could see it. I could see it. Like
Especially now
Texas,
that they actually have a quarterback.
yeah, and Archie Manning looked like Archie Manning. I'm not sure Archie Manning or Quinn Ewers is going to play. Yeah, they beat Mississippi State, but that game was a little close. They didn't cover the spread. That game was a little closer than people expected. Maybe a little bit of that now that they're playing actual SEC teams. And again, remember this is their first road game.
Yeah.
Oklahoma had a tough game against Auburn. Texas has not had anything remotely close to a tough game yet. Even Michigan, they just blew them out. Yeah, that Oklahoma defense is not to be messed with. And if your first road game as a rookie quarterback in Archie Manning is to go against a pretty tough Oklahoma defense, could be an interesting. And it's an afternoon game now. It used to be a noon. That used to be an
Oh, nice.
ABC new game. Now it's 3:30. Shout out for that.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Okay.
Hmm.
Yeah. Because ESPN doesn't put like anything good on the morning. They don't put their best ones in that early slot.
I don't.
So
Why is it not? Why is it not? If you're the network and you have Oklahoma, Texas, why is that not 8 o'clock? Why is that 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock? That should be prime time under the. I don't understand. Are we
because
just
it's at that
tripping?
fair. I think because it's at the fair and it has
Do
to
they
be
not
like in
have
the day.
Do they not have electricity at the
No,
fair? Do they
they
not
don't.
have giant
It's
lights? Like,
all the electricity is used to deep fry stuff. You know about that, right? They deep fry everything.
yes, I know that part. But there's no way we can install lights. Where it's
Nope,
2024, there's no way we can.
nope.
All right.
It's like
I
the
mean,
old Wrigley Field.
this has got. Come on. If we're trying to optimize TV revenue, you gotta be able to do that with this game. You gotta get that game on at 7 o'clock Eastern. But that's my take.
Actually, so that's like going to be noon my time.
Yes, New York time. Yes.
Wow, that's going against USC at Penn State or Penn State at USC the same time.
We gotta compete with
Wow,
NBC somehow.
there it is. So it's programming. That's on CBS actually.
Oh yes,
Counter
CBS.
programming. That's what it is. Okay, Robert, that is it. We crushed it in week 5. I feel very comfortable about week 6, but then I guess I have reason to be after such a good week 5. That's it for me, Robert. Thank you so much. We will talk to you in a week. And actually, if you're still with us, we're going to have a special extra episode this week. Stay tuned for that. We'll have Duck on to talk about a few games that we didn't get into too much today. So until then, thank you very much for listening, for watching. We really appreciate it, and good luck this weekend.
See ya.